Hello again, everyone. I'm Steve Greene. In yesterday's video series, as we continue discussing marketing in specifics for the kinds of products that you're interested in, and that would be your own, we considered the thought of starting a target market selection by beginning with segmentation. And all segmentation is we use any number of factors to separate our audience into groups that are similar. The more homogeneous the audience, the better. A heterogeneous audience is a mass audience. A target market is homogeneous. So I'd like to explain that to you by use of a cherry pie. Now, right at this moment, I could use a nice big piece of cherry pie. About any moment, I could use a piece of cherry pie. If you think about a cherry pie, and I came into you and said, Bud, I've got the biggest blueberry pie available to you. This is the best, most giant blueberry pie you've ever seen. It's huge. And believe it or not, inside of this blueberry pie, there's probably a few cherries in there somewhere because this thing is just so big. Now, if I want a cherry pie, I don't really care how great big that blueberry pie is. It's too big, right? Has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a cherry pie eater. The thing that I care about as a target is that you can provide what I'm looking for. That makes me a target. I want cherry pies. Notice that size doesn't matter here. The size of the audience was irrelevant. The fact that it had cherries in it is what's relevant. And that's the beginning of selecting a homogeneous market. Let's think of it in another way. Let's say we're selling ketchup. So if I want to sell ketchup to a target market, to an audience, there may be those people. What I remember, I used to sell Heinz ketchup, one of my first jobs out of college, is how slow it came out of the bottle. Now, I went to Pittsburgh and took a class in ketchupology. I actually have a certificate that says I studied ketchup. I don't know what I'm going to do with that certificate, but I still have it. It's in a file somewhere. But I learned an awful lot about why people eat ketchup and what they want in a taste. And basically what makes Heinz ketchup what it is that it's made in such a way that it's very thick. And what people respond to, in fact, they even had an advertising campaign that was based on anticipation. It's slow, good. You bang on the bottom of it, you bang on the neck, and hopefully it comes out at some point. But Heinz ketchup is known for its rich taste, which comes from being thick. That's a lot better than buying one of those store-bought kind of labels where the ketchup comes out so fast it's all over your plate before you know what hit it. And that ketchup doesn't taste as good. So we want a segment of people that are looking for a thicker, richer, maybe even more expensive ketchup. The price doesn't matter if you want good ketchup. If you're in the business of eating fries, you want good ketchup. So that target, who we're after, are people who want that in particular. Let's take it a little more specific. Let's think about maybe advertising in Charisma magazine. This is not a commercial. It's a descriptor of what I want you to understand about a target market. So if you read it, I can tell you how big our audience is. I can tell you how many different people out there read it. So we will be size focused, as opposed to being focused on the quality of the segment. The quality of the segment has to do with their behaviors with our magazine. We know a few things about our readers. They're highly energized. People who read Charisma magazine want to read it. They're fully engaged with the content. Now, what does that mean to you? If I've got a deep reader, someone who's reading our stories, cover to cover, they read our stories, I believe you have an enhanced probability or a benefit of having people who are already reading oriented. They're readers. They read copy. They read content. Because we have highly engaged readers, they become highly involved and engaged with your advertisement. They want, if they're interested enough to stop, if your headline is written so well that it stops the reader on their way through our magazine, they're engaged and they want to know about the conference you have coming up. They want to know about the book you've written, or perhaps the thing that you have for sale to a particular Christian audience. All of that matters to someone who's in that group and in that target group. There's very little waste circulation in a magazine such as ours. It's full of cherries. There's no blueberries in it. The people who read Charisma magazine are Christian focused. They're reading about the charismatic movement or about spirit-filled topics. That's what they want. And it's there. So that you're attaching to that audience. That's who you're reaching, and that's the benefit. In addition to that, if you're reaching only people that are of interest to you, you have a lower cost. Your lower cost of lead acquisition. That sounds like a benefit to me. So as you think about benefits, we could go all the way back to the beginning of segmentation and think about this. If I'm worried about an age descriptor. Remember, we're going to have a descriptor or a predictor. Describe your audience. Well, they're 25 to 54, they're adults, they live in a house, they drive cars, they're just nice people, they do things. That sounds very general, very mass market. They eat bread and they drink water. Maybe fancy bread, maybe fancy water, but it's still a very broad audience. But when you tell me you want to reach people who go to church every week, who read something spiritual every day, who pray a lot, you begin to describe them in ways. Those are descriptors, but more than that, they begin to predict that they're going to engage with your content. And that's what we want, that your advertisement will exist in a place where content is familiar. It matches the place where you're trying to advertise. So if you want a cherry pie, buy a cherry pie. Don't be confused by the largeness of a blueberry pie. Descriptors and predictors, know the difference, and I believe it'll help your target marketing. This is Steve Greene. Thanks for watching. On behalf of Charisma Media, God bless you.